Hello and welcome back to another video in my Learning to Draw series. We're going to be continuing with learning about perspective. Today I'm going to show you guys how to do a one-point city perspective illustration. I'm going to go over the basics of how to make a street, a sidewalk, some buildings, windows, doors, and then a simple background. From there, you guys should have the tools to be able to build your own city the way you want to. So let's get started. So if you remember back when we did our blocks in space, the first thing that I had you do was find the very center of the paper. So I'm going to do that by measuring the two corners of my paper. You can't see the end of it because the paper is a little bit big, but I am connecting the two corners together. So when I connect my two corners of the paper from this side over to here, and from this side to here, where they crisscross, that's the exact middle. Next, what I'll do is I'll grab a triangle if you have it. If you don't have a triangle, what you're going to need to do, you can see the bottom of the paper, is grab your ruler, bring it up, and you're going to try your best to make sure that your ruler is not crooked. Okay? And a way that you can do that without a triangle is to take the straight edge of your ruler and make sure it's aligned flat on the side. But if you do have a triangle, what you're going to do is switch. You'll take your ruler, place it on the side, take your triangle, make sure your ruler is completely touching the side. Once it is, take your triangle, push it up against your ruler, slide it up until it meets the middle point, then draw a line straight across. From there, you could just take your ruler, continue that line all the way across. This might be a little bit more challenging on a smaller piece of paper, such as 8.5 by 11. So if you have 11 by 14, that could probably be a better way to go. All right, the way that we're going to start off this drawing is by doing our center street. So we're going to do this in a one-point perspective. So let's just make a symmetrical, as best as we can, peak right here. So if we cut this in half, the distance from here to here should be about the same. And if it isn't, that's okay. Once you do this, you're going to want to take your bottom point and draw on both sides. So watch how I do that. Again, we need to make sure that we're staying even across. So take our ruler, push it all the way across the side of the paper, take our triangle, go down, and connect this point over. We'll do the same thing on this side. So what we're looking at is our main street and two connecting streets. If you wanted to, you could have your street go all the way down, but I'm going to draw these two side streets. Next, we'll give our curb some depth. So to do that, what you're going to do is take your ruler. We'll do it with a triangle just so that's a little clearer to see. I'm going to do it with my ruler, but I think perhaps having it be see-through might be a little easier. That'll be your curb. Draw a straight line going down. Make sure that line is not wobbly. Now you can align your triangle. I'm just going to use my eye. I think I'll go a little faster. That's your first street curb. We're going to do the second thing over to the side. Take our ruler, make it a little easier. make sure that this distance is equal across. Make our point there. Now we have two curbs. Let's go ahead and make our sidewalk. Your sidewalk can be as wide as you want, but I would probably, I don't know how to help you gauge this, but to my eye, when I'm looking at the size of a curb, it makes sense for me to push it out to about this far. You can kind of gauge what you want to do at home. If you want to be precise, we can take our ruler, measure how far the distance is between here and here. It looks like it's 1 7/8. So I'll measure that over here. So 1 7/8. Now we'll need to put our bottom. Let's use my triangle for this. Your ruler is flush with the paper. Take your triangle, slide down. We want another line going straight down here. Make sure your ruler is not crooked. You could do this with your triangle if you wanted to. Line here, make sure this line is not crooked. And now we need to just make our lines proceeding in space. So here's where we this is where we're going to be making what looks like maybe train tracks in the distance. I'll use my clear see-through ruler. For the sake of speed, I'm not going to be lining it up with the side. I'm going to just do this by eye. And what I want to do is, as I go back, I want the distance between here and here to continually get smaller. Oops. Keep checking to see that this is not wobbling on us. So a way you can check is just to take this, slide it down, and just check to make sure that the distance between here and here is parallel. Just remember, as I'm going farther back, the distance between these lines are starting to narrow. We'll just have this go all the way back into the distance. And if you want, you could just do these last few by hand here without even the ruler. All right, now we have two sidewalks going to the distance. We're ready to do our buildings. So let's start on this side. We'll just take our triangle, line it up at the bottom of the sidewalk, and we'll make our first building right here at the corner. Now you can decide how tall you want your first building to be. I think what I'm going to do is just make this building a little bit lower than the horizon. So I'll start it here. Very lightly draw a line going straight back to the horizon line, or to the vanishing point. I'll take this and go across. We can check this with our triangle. And then you can decide how big you want your building to be. So if you remember back to when we did our box exercise, it's going to come in handy when you go and do this. So this has become our first building. Now we need to make some buildings behind it. To do that, we're going to take our triangle, line it up at the bottom of the paper, decide how far back we want our building to go. If you want to be precise, you can go on the where your sidewalk marks are, but that really doesn't matter. It's really not that important, I would say, but if that helps you in any way, go ahead and do it. So we'll make the next building a little bit taller. Stop it here. We'll connect it back to the vanishing point. Let's erase some of these lines so we're not getting too confused here. I would be keeping a lot of my lines a bit on the light side, but for the sake of the video, I'm keeping them kind of normal so that way you can see it. We'll take this corner and go straight across. Let's use our triangle again at the end. Going all the way across. Once it connects to this point, that's the part where you know you can take this point and go straight up. I'm using the bottom of my triangle, lining it up with the bottom of my sidewalk. Go up. Take this and go straight across. The edge of your triangle. Hopefully you're starting to see how this building is now forming. Let's end this building right here. Grab the bottom of your triangle, put it on the bottom here. Make sure it's at the bottom of your paper, line it up. If you were to really take your time, we would be lining the ruler up, but I'd like to just move a little quicker here. I think you guys can follow along. Let's put a tall building here. Let's connect the top of our building all the way back to the vanishing point. Triangle, line it up on the side. Now if you can see, there's this almost invisible line that's down here. What we want to do is first, well, you can just kind of come up, kind of average how we want this to look. Use my triangle with the horizon line to do this. Okay, we need to decide how far back this building is going to go. Line that up with the paper. do a few more building tops. Line the triangle back up, connect it here. And as the buildings go back, try to have them squeeze in a little bit more. Make another one. If we want, we can put another building on this side. We can keep it the same height, or we can make it taller. It really doesn't matter. I say we make it a little taller just on this side. We'll go straight across here. Connect this back. And we don't want this to go all the way back because this building is only going to be so far back, and then we can pretend maybe there's a parking lot behind it, but we won't be able to see that. Erase all these lines up front. All right, so what we have done so far is create our horizon line, our sidewalks, and our buildings. Oh, and before I forget, let's go ahead and finish the sidewalks in the front. So to finish this, what you're going to want to do is measure from here to here. We measured that before, which is 1 7/8. Let's go ahead and just keep that measurement 1 7/8 here, and we won't see that over there. So we're going to be over here in the distance. I'm actually marking that on the background paper. Connect this to that point. Do the same thing over here. Let's do the same thing on this side. 1 7/8. We'll do it again. Okay. I'm going to stop right there. Why don't you see what you can do with yours? And I'll come back and show you part 2 of this, where I'll go over how to do the doors and the windows and a few other things. Thanks so much, and I look forward to seeing you soon.